And when you admire Joe Burke the way I do, and he says, I need something, again, it goes back to whatever it is you need, Joe. He said, can I nominate somebody? I said, no, you can select someone. I said, but if you say he's good enough, that's all I need to know. And he said, well, there's this guy over in St. Louis that was what I was in Kansas City, he was in St. Louis. And I called Randy Shekell. And I couldn't believe that he was the age that he was telling me he was because of the energy level and excitement that he had. And this has been one of those really, truly moving moments for me to get to meet Randy Shekell. In 1970, he started on a Honda Super Rat. How many remember the Super Rat? Oh, Hodaka. I'm sorry, I wrote, yeah. You know what? I don't have my glasses on. I thought I could cheat this here. The Hodaka, then there was the Combat Wombat and all of those, but he rode a Hodaka Super Rat. Won his first 6 races. Raced a 250 CZ at the US 125 Grand Prix. Rode a 125 Elsinore. I think Jody had an Elsinore. Didn't you have an Elsinore, Jody? I seem to remember that. That was like that name, something about that name Elsinore, you know, whether it's the Mustang or the bike was always like, oh my God, that thing may go crazy. You know, it may take off without me. Those are crazy bikes. He won the District 18 Expert in 1972. He was the Rider of the Year at the Cycle World event. I incorrectly said he was the Cycle World Magazine Rider of the Year, which he said he wished he was. But his first AMA Pro race was in 76, rode Redbud, finished 19th, was national number 94. 125 Pro Class 1 at the Harry Taylor Cup of World in Sacramento. 2013, he's still racing. Won the Ultima 125 Expert at Diamond Dave's Vintage National. This is the world's biggest vintage race, and he won it. He's still racing. Radical Randy Shekell. Joe, are you going to come up and say a couple words here? Let me tell you, when Joe Burke recommends you, what do they say? When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. When Joe Burke says this guy's fast, you know he's fast. So, a Hall of Famer in his own right, one of my heroes, Mr. Joe Burke.
Well, first off, I'm going to talk to you about the head injuries. Because I can remember having one myself, and that happened at agency. And they watered the track in between the races. And it was while we were racing. And anyway, I kind of come around the corner and got on it. Anyway, landed on my head upside down. Well, this is when I raced for Donnell's, and Nancy took me to the hospital. My problem is my insurance wouldn't cover me if it happened on a motorcycle. So anyway, I made up this story that I was shooting for a basketball goal and I got tripped, and anyway, that's how it happened, and it covered. And going back to the track, all I did was get in trouble for making up this story. But I did finish the second moto. They paid moto money. One thing about Jeff Emig, too, is I was at that Supercross when he won. And that was huge, because he's right. We were cheering our ass off for him. That's fact. Now, Randy here, that's a different guy. He's the Radical Randy. One thing for sure, he goes and races at Snake River. He steals the sign outside that tells you where the track is. And then down the road has Evel Knievel sign it.
How'd you get that?
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. Anyway, he was Radical Randy, and ever since I known him, which was in '71, is about where I met him. We started racing, and he always had long hair, and the girls all chased him. And anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce him as a Hall of Famer this year, and nothing but respect. And the other thing is, how do you go start racing on a Hodaka and then you end up winning on a Hodaka?
Here he is, the newest member of the Missouri Motocross Hall of Fame, Mr. Radical Randy Shekell.
everybody for coming. This is a great event. It's an honor to be here. I've got a bunch of my friends here with me that it's just very special to me to have them all come from St. Louis. It's a long drive to come just to see me get inducted into this Hall of Fame, but it's quite an honor, believe me. Greg, I appreciate you and your wife putting this on and going through all the headaches and situations you have with this, I'm sure. So, like he said, I started in the 70s, in first 69, 70, won my first 6 races in a row, and I was hooked since then. Yeah, I've had such a good time racing. I've had more fun than you can ever believe racing with all my friends and family, and it's just been an honor to be in the community with all these people. And like Craig and all of them said, it is truly what the motocrossers will do for you. Anything. If you need some parts, they come over and help you. They'd help you work on your bikes, whatever. I remember one time I was going to agency for a 125 national event. Blew a fork seal out of the trailer on my bike. My bike started leaking fork seal. One of the guys from Yamaha Support says, "Here, give me your forks. I'll rebuild them tonight. Have them for you tomorrow morning." He rebuilt them, man, and we went out there. I finished 6th the first moto at 125 national at the agency, and then I think I finished like 17th or 18th the second moto. I about died from heat exhaustion. It was like 102 in the shade that day, and they actually had to take the flagman to the hospital because he got overheated, the main flagman. I think that might have been the year that Danny Magoo Chandler clipped him too, coming off this jump. Clipped him as he was flagging the race, if you can believe that. Yeah, we got a few stories. Joe, man, we've had some dices. I mean, we went back and forth, but man, we never argued one time. We were friends the whole time, whether he won, whether I won, whether we crashed each other, it didn't matter. Yeah. So it's been quite an event. And speaking of Jeff Emig, I was at that race that he won and beat Jeremy McGrath in his undefeated season. He actually was the only one to beat him here at St. Louis. And we were cheering him on like you'd never believe. Well, I was fortunate enough to get in the pits afterwards, and my son got pushed back on Jeff Emig's bike, sitting on the bike after the races. My cousins, both my 2 cousins, actually got one of his gloves and a pair of his goggles at the podium when he threw them out to the crowd. So it was quite an event for us, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life, of course. So, and we also got to go out to California in 2017, and they had a Harry Taylor Cup race, and my buddy Terry Larson and Bev drafted me into going out there to race. And I went out there and raced, and ended up winning the championship out there in the Harry Taylor Cup, which was a big, big event. I mean, we had Diamond Dons before that, which is the biggest vintage race in the world. And then we drove out there, and never even rode the bike before. Never even been on the bike, and we went out there and had some serious fun. All those people out there were really friendly to us and enjoyed us. And they had a CZ World Cup Championship out there too, which was a big deal. I mean, the who's who, Brad Lackey, John Soto, Gary Chaplin, you name it. There's so many people out there that was just unbelievable. But I sure appreciate this, and Joe, thanks for introducing me. I sure appreciate that too. I've probably known you for 40 or 50 years. You know, a lot of these guys up here. I want to thank my sponsors. That's the biggest part of this racing event, is your sponsors. You always need to take care of the sponsors because they're the ones that make it happen. Jeff will tell you about that, I'm sure. Without them, we don't have anything. I mean, a lot of people can't afford to race what it costs today to race. So enjoy the time that you have out there on the track, and I'm hoping to get back on the track. I actually raced a couple times last year. I'll be 68 this year, still racing. And Actually, it's a real weird story. The 2 races I raced last year, I ran 2 classes. I raced a modern class on 250 YZ F, and then I raced the 89 Yamaha in the vintage class. Won all the motos, won 4 motos I raced in. Later on that, I guess about a month or 2 later, I found out that I had cancer tumor in my back, so I was out there racing with cancer and a tumor in my back. So my goal right now is to get back on the track and have some more fun. Nice.